Hey everybody, it's your favorite reconstructionist, Eric Brown and Phil Relli, and welcome to episode number 4 of the one and only show bringing you tips and tricks to working vehicle collision cases from the best experts in the industry every Wednesday. Today's topic is this really my expert? So grab your expert angle coffee mug and settle in. 3, 2, 1, off we go. Every year, traffic crashes claim the lives of over 1 million people and account for over $500 billion of injuries around the world. A small select group of people, from police to attorneys to expert investigators, are tasked with getting justice for the victims, protecting the rights of involved parties, and ensuring the story is told accurately and honestly. Unfortunately, we believe that is an impossible task without the right team of experts. If you agree, then keep on listening for actionable tips from leading experts across various industries that you can start taking today to elevate your professional game. If you disagree, then tune in anyway and let us convince you with our ideas. We are Eric Brown and Phil Relli, and this is Crash Tech, the Expert Angle. Welcome back to the show, guys. Crash Tech, the Expert Angle podcast is brought to you by Crash Tech Reconstruction Services. If you have an accident that you need answers for, or you think the other side has it wrong, Crash Tech can help. Connect with us at www.crashtechreconstruction.com to submit your case for a free review. Phil, welcome back, man. Here we are. Episode number 4, bringing it to the people.
Yeah, bringing it.
So this is going to be kind of a fun episode today, I think. I hope. So
you never know.
You never know. This could be the boring one. This could be it. This is where we drop the ball. No, I'm just kidding. So today's episode, since we spoke a little bit last week about the differences between your experts, I wanted to kind of keep the conversation going. And this week, talk about vetting those experts. How do you know that you're actually getting a good quality expert?
Sure.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
Because now that you know the differences, that's great. You go online and there's just a sea of reconstructionists and engineers and everybody else under God's green earth out there that's trying to be an expert. So I thought, hey, you know what? Let's take a little bit of time and discuss this. How do you vet it? Because let's just be honest here. Because you built your house, didn't you?
I didn't physically build it. I wish I did.
I mean,
I'd have done a lot of things different.
Right. Yeah, but you had a builder build your house, right?
Right.
And when you were looking for builders, did you just do you remember the movie The Jerk back in the day with Steve Martin?
Yeah.
And, the guy opens the phone book and he just puts his finger down, Navin R. Johnson, and he just picks him out of the phone. Right. Is that how you picked your contractor? Or did you go out and actually want to see work product and say, hey, do you have a portfolio that shows me some pictures and this, that, and the other?
Yeah, we actually went and took tours of a couple homes that he built.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. And same thing with an architect. If you were going to hire an architect to build something, wouldn't you want to see their portfolio of some of the work that they've done and things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't understand. And to even bring it down even more simple, when you buy a car, ever go to the lot and just say, or call them on the phone and be like, hey, here's the car I want. Go ahead and just get financing and I'll swing by the lot and pick it up.
No, I have not, but there is an app out there for that now.
That's true. But they also have a 30-day return policy on those cars. So that's, but it's weird that in our everything that we do in life, right? We never do that. We never just give somebody our money up front, especially when you're talking the possibility of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
We never just give them our money up front and then wait for an unseen product at the end.
Right.
So why in the world would we do this when it comes to business?
Doesn't make any sense.
Right. Exactly. So I know a lot of you guys are going to be sitting there and you're going to be like, well, I've been working with this expert forever. And maybe that is the case. And so if you've worked with this guy in the past or girl, then maybe you can skip some of these steps. But if nothing else, I want you to sit back and think while you're driving, and we're going to go through some of these vetting questions that we use to vet experts and things like that are important, and sit back and think, which one of these would be checked off with your expert and which ones wouldn't? Because if they're not checking off all of these questions, then you may have a problem. You may want to shop for a different expert.
Right. Sure.
And the other thing too that I just kind of want to get out of the way right from the rip And who's heard this or said it or thought this? That, man, I don't want to get stuck using the same expert over and over and over again, because in a trial, it's going to look like they're biased because we work together a lot.
But they do it now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, how many attorneys have you talked to where, we always use so-and-so, or we always use so-and-so. And, I think over time, if you continue to see the same result and you continue to get to some degree the same result, you just accept the fact that is what you should expect to get at the end. Yeah. Is it really? I mean, is that really what this is about? I don't know. I mean, and if you're good with that, if you're that person who says, you know what, I always use this company, we have this long-standing relationship, and, we get 75% of what we're asking for. If you're good with that, I guess. I mean, if I don't want to do any better. Yeah, I don't want to ever better myself or get any better. I don't want to make any more money. I don't want to do anything better for my client. Right. And that is what it is. That might be a training class opportunity for that individual. Right. And and that's the thing is I challenge even people that are longtime loyal customers of Crash Tech. See what else is out there. That's okay. I don't mind throwing this challenge out there because I'm that confident in our work product. And how consistently we evolve our work product. Like our work product is always changing. It's always growing. It's always getting better. And you've seen it. I know I've seen it, and I know you've seen it. You see cookie cutter reports. Oh yeah, some experts out there. So when you get that phone call. Hey, this is the reconstruction report we received through Discovery. We like a rebuttal report, and you read these, and from certain places, you'll see just cookie cutter. It's almost like literally there's a spot where it's tab fill, tab fill, tab fill. But that is great for them because, man, they're really knocking out a report in no time flat. But at the end of the day, that's not what you paid for. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Every letter and every keystroke on your on that piece of paper should be the first time that keystroke was made. You know what I mean? Yeah. If that makes sense. And it's funny because the reason too, I think that Phil brings that up is because we have a stack of reports from one of these companies, and a couple of the paragraphs, there are some typos in it. And that same typo is in every single one. So I know that paragraph has just been copy and pasted into every single report they do because they've never fixed the typo. Yeah. So, Phil's exactly right. And so what we did is we put together a guide, and this guy's going to be available. And I know I've mentioned it before, but this guy's going to be available in our book that's coming out this fall. And also it's going to be posted. So I'm going to post this guide into the Crash site, which is the private site for PI attorneys only currently. And like I said, we're going to grow that one. It's on Facebook. And like I said, if you go on Facebook and just type in the Crash site, it's there, or you can get to it from our Facebook. This guide is there. So if you're a PI attorney and you want this guide, go there, and we're going to put this inside of there for you. But anyway, so this is kind of some of the things that we're going to look at. Okay. So when you're vetting your expert, we're looking at 4 different areas that we're going to vet them in. Okay. And don't skip steps, because if you're skipping steps, something could slip through the cracks and you could miss one of these things. And then you get to trial and you find out that this is where they suck. And that's never a good thing. You want to know now, right? We want to know up front. So what we do is we just have a little check mark. They either hit it or they don't. If they hit it, they get checked off on it. If they don't, leave it blank. And it's a total score of 20 because there's 20 different areas that they can get checked off on. Okay. So in the first one, what we're looking at is tone and pace. Okay. And, was the expert enthusiastic as hell? Did they sound sharp as a tack? Did they sound like somebody worth listening to? Was their voice pleasing to the ear? And did they stress points with different tone inflections? Okay. And why does this become important? Because if somebody doesn't do this, Phil, how do they sound? Visine commercial. Yeah, right? Yeah. It literally will put your jury to sleep. And if it's putting your jury to sleep, it's, yeah. Yeah. And they may miss the most fundamental key point of your entire presentation in that courtroom because they were daydreaming about grass growing. Who knows?
Right. And so think about it. What we're trying to avoid is, and I know if you've been in court with an expert, you have seen this guy. I guarantee that you have seen an expert that is this exact guy or girl. Okay. And they get on the stand and they're sharp. Man, they know what they're talking about, but they talk like this. So what happened in this crash was this vehicle was coming down the side street and failed to stop for the stop sign, and the other vehicle was coming at this speed, and they had
I really want to reach through the microphone right now and just smack you.
Right. Yeah. But that's exactly it. Right. And dude, but the problem is because we've seen these people in court. That means that the other side, the other attorneys hired these people. And it's like, did they ever even talk to them? Or did they just buy a car online and go pick it up later?
Right.
So, that's what I'm worried about there. So like I said, those are the different points that we're looking at was the expert enthusiastic as hell? Because folks, I'm telling you right now, if that expert isn't enthusiastic about what they do, how in the world are they ever going to communicate it to a jury that they're enthusiastic about what they do?
Right.
Right. Like, I don't know about you, man. I love what I do.
Right.
This is fun, And so I get all geeked out about it. And get all hyped up. And I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah, look at this and look at this. And for anybody that follows us on social media, I just posted a picture the other day. We had a rollover event. And when the car came down on its side, both wheels left perfect aluminum circles with black rubber outlines around them where the vehicle came down on the asphalt. And I had to post it online because I'm like, this is amazing.
And that's evidence you don't see very often.
Right. Yeah. Like in over 2,000 crashes that I have been on the scene for, like live. That's the first time I've ever seen that. And so I posted it. And one of the guys who has written one of the books on Reconstruction, like one of the founding guys, commented and he said it took him all day to find a picture. And he posted a picture of the same thing. And he's like, dude, I've seen this once in 35 years. I mean, that's incredible. So, I get all geeked out about it. So I'm enthusiastic and, that's what makes it fun. So the other one too is, are they sharp as a tack? So meaning, do they sound like me or do they sound like Phil? I'm joking. I'm just kidding. So Phil's got that Southern accent, right? And so I don't mean that. I don't mean do they speak slower or anything like that. But do they sound intelligent? Do they sound smart? Do they get to the point, or is it lots of, well, possibly, is it that guy, or is this the way it happened? Yep. That's the way it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because the moment you start with the, or ums or the long pauses, the other side of the equation is certainly thinking there's a lack of confidence in whatever section you're discussing at that point. And that could be dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could exploit that and at that point you got doubt, you've got, a whole lot of things that are running through the people you're counting on the most to side on, in your favor are now maybe wondering the same thing.
Yeah. And so this next one's kind of fun and it's interesting. Do they sound like somebody worth listening to?
I ask that question to myself every time I call you.
Right. And generally your answer is like, no, he's not.
Like,
right. Whatever. It is what it is. But no, what we mean by that is like, think of your expert as a tour guide, right? He's the tour guide at the zoo because he's going to guide the jury through the events and it's a guided tour. So if you look on the left, you're going to see a crashed out car. You look on the right, you're going to see tire marks coming into the crash, right? That's what we're talking about. And so can they take you on this journey, on this magical journey in your mind and paint that picture with words? Are they able to do that or not?
Right.
In both versions, not only in testimony, but also in their report.
Right. And when they're taking you on that tour, keep in mind the tour is being guided for the amusement or enjoyment of the jury.
Right.
So that's who you want envisioning this, when they talk about a car, boom, they can put a car in their vision. They can put tire marks in their vision. It's not about taking you on a tour guide. It's about taking that jury on the tour guide.
Right. Exactly. So, and this next one here, this one's kind of a fun one. And I didn't think about this.
You said the last one was a fun one.
They're all fun. I like this whole topic is great. So I actually go around the country, and I've given this speech to some of the Fortune 500 companies out there and bigger places, especially places that do telephone sales and things like that, where we talk about tone and pitch and things like that in your voice. So this next one became crucial. And what we found in the psychological effect it has on people is their tone pleasing to your ear? And a lot of people don't think about that, but let's actually put that in context. If you get in your car today and your favorite song comes on the radio, but for some reason you're just getting out of reach of the radio station frequency, and so like the treble either sounds distorted or the bass sounds distorted or it's just all messed up, what do?
I'll take it. I'll kind of jump onto your example there. Think about people that redo songs, reproduce songs. The original artist, you may have not liked that song when they sang it or put it out, but then you have these bands that are redoing cover songs, and it's like, wow, now you're turning the volume up, and vice versa. So
the prime example is, think of like the remake of Sound of Silence
that is awesome.
Just did.
Yeah,
right?
Disturbed. Yeah, that's good remake.
Absolutely, because what is their tone and their pitch compared to the original tone and pitch? Right. Yeah. Completely. I mean, night and day difference in the song. But so in your radio, if tone and pitch is off on your radio, you change the station.
Right.
Right. You don't want to listen to that crap. And so subconsciously, that's exactly what a jury's going to do. If somebody comes up there and their voice is shrill or boring or dull or just doesn't sound good to the ear, they just tune you out.
Yeah.
Think about it. What happens at home when you change your tone and pitch to your kids? What do?
In my home, it's usually laugh, walk off.
Right. But that's exactly, they just tune you out, right? They just tune you out. So yeah, 100%. And then finally, did they stress points with different tone inflections? And this is something that cops master. So this is one thing that I will give you, I think, from what I've seen, reconstructionists typically are better at this than engineers, not in all cases. Throw that disclaimer out there. But this is something that police have to master. And I don't know, Phil, have you ever witnessed this? So if you go to a domestic, right, and people are yelling and everybody wants to hear what you have to say, okay, and I really want to stress something, I found this, that I'll actually start to whisper. Because if I whisper, they'll match my tone and everybody kind of leans in to listen to what I'm talking to. And so it's funny because if somebody's like, and they're yelling and screaming at me and I'm like, okay, listen, okay. So, and I could do that. They'll start screaming at me in a whisper. They'll be, but she did this. And it's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, because if you just stand in silence, there's no change in their demeanor whatsoever.
Right.
But if you talk at a lower tone where they have to try and they got to multitask. Their brain is saying, okay, you have to actually listen to hear what he's saying, but you still want to continue barking whatever you're barking about.
Right. Exactly.
So it's an interesting, challenge.
And you can get these things in your conversation with your expert. So when you initially call them, these are things that you're actually going through on the phone when you're just having that conversation and you're just checking these things off. The next one in the verbal communication skills section, then, did they build rapport with you? Because if they didn't, they're not going to build any rapport with a jury on the stand. And that rapport, that likability factor is crucial. And I know every attorney listening to this knows about likability factor, right? Because if you have a drunk driver that hit and killed a 3-year-old that was playing in the road, what's the likability factor of that drunk driver?
Yeah.
But you got an 80-year-old lady who just, doing her thing, and she was just out getting groceries, or, oh man, maybe she was picking up a birthday cake for her grandkids and gets in a car accident and she's injured. What's her likability factor? And I know you guys take this into account.
Take the same example, same 3-year-old in the street, drunk driver, 80-year-old grandmother.
Yeah. So I know you guys already think about this when it comes to the witness, but what about your expert? I mean, the expert has to have that likability factor. Yeah. Was the call conversational or was it transactional? So this is something that you should be grading your expert on. Did they get on the phone with you and they're just like, okay, what company are you with? Where the case happened? What was the date of it? What was this? What was that? Right? Or did they actually have a conversation where they're like, hey, man, what's going on? What do you got? Tell me about it. You know what I mean? Did they actually have a conversation with you? Was there no dead air on the call? This is something you'll never have a problem with me. If you ever talk to me on the phone, there will never be dead air. In fact, there typically won't even be a pause in the sentence. And Phil does that in his reports.
No, you run on sentences, you do run on conversations.
Right. Yeah, it's all
balance.
Good. Yeah, but we balance each other out and we catch it and point it out.
I hate you.
What is there noticeable filler words? And this is something that actually takes practice to get rid of. Your whatever.
Well, and I'll say too, police officers, that's part of their vocabulary on the street, and that's a tough hurdle to overcome.
It is.
Because it becomes part of your everyday life because, just about the time you go to start your sentence and you're interrupted, your next one will start maybe with an or a well, because you're waiting and anticipating that person to interrupt you. So it becomes part of your vocabulary, and that's tough to overcome. It's a hurdle, but
it is. Yeah. And it's something that you have to work on. And so That's why I say vet this stuff right up front, because if you don't, you're going to end up with an expert that's the whole time on the stand. And that gets old. It actually gets old to your ears. It's going to get old to the jury's ears. So make sure you're watching that. And would you be convinced by them? Did they speak in such a way that you would be convinced by what this person has to say? Do they have passion?
Do they know their product and by product, I mean field, or are they a snake oil salesman where they've done enough research to know what to say, but really don't know the product? Yeah. And if that's the case, that's certainly a challenge for you for sure. Because some people can sound very, very, very intelligent about a product. And then when you have join that relationship or that bond with the expectation of a good, thorough report that's going to read well and so on, and what you get is something that is horrible.
Yep.
How are you going to recover from that?
Right. And so this next section, we're going to actually spend a whole podcast talking on how to read a CV and properly vet some of these trainings. Because I know you all have read a CV, but there's some things in there that you'll notice, I think, that people kind of sneak in there, take out, and they got a little bit of fluff in there. And so we need to cut through some of that. But on this beginning one here, their background and training, do they have the physical certificates for what you need? Right? And what do I mean? Do they have the physical certificates for what you need? So meaning if you need somebody to calculate speed from crush of a motorcycle or something like that, do they have physical certificates from a motorcycle specific course that teaches them to use that formula? Right? Because almost every reconstructionist and engineer out there is going to say that they know how to do crush because you learn it in recon. But I will tell you right now, unless you go to the school and actually get certified, and it is a week-long school specifically where the only thing you talk about is crush. Unless you have that school, you are nowhere even close qualified to use crush.
Yeah.
Nowhere even close. And so that's what I mean. Do they have the physical certificate for exactly what you're looking for? Have they withstood a court challenge before? Have they been Dauber challenged?
Sure.
Has somebody beat them up in depot, in trial, something? Have they been challenged in court? Has the gauntlet been thrown down and this guy survived, or girl?
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, because man, God forbid your case is the one where this is the first time this guy or girl gets challenged and you come to find out that maybe they don't hold up that well under pressure.
Right. Yeah.
Have they ever been paid to instruct a class? Why would this be important? Why would that be important at all? Because what are you doing to the jury? Literally, you're educating them.
Yeah.
You're teaching them a class. And so typically instructors have for most instructors. I know there's some out there that are going to be super boring, but most instructors are pretty dynamic speakers. They have a good presence about them, and they can teach you how to do something. And that's what we're doing on the stand. We're taking a jury full of people and we're teaching them whatever subject we're talking about. Right. So you got to get to
and that kind of goes to the point that you know, how long are you going to have your expert on the stand, and they've got to teach that jury in, I don't know, 3-4 hours about crash reconstruction and how it, you know, played a role, or how the reconstruction played a role in investigating this and coming to the opinion. That's a lot. I mean, what took us years and years and years and years of training and education and experience, we've got to now convey that in 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever the case may be. So your expert needs to be effective on the stand, because as your expert starts to run on sitting on the stand, opposing counsel is just going to shut it down. You know, they don't want to let you talk for too long. So you got to be able to get to your point, drive that point quickly before they have the opportunity to break it down or dismantle the statement being made. So.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Have they ever been paid to be a public speaker? And this is going to be most experts have not, but some have. And this is a great thing to ask, because if they've been paid to be a public speaker, what kind of speaker are they? Typically, they're a pretty dynamic speaker, because nobody's going to pay some boring guy, for the most part, to get up and give a presentation. So that's just kind of a good question to ask them. Did they teach you something on the call? Did you walk away from the call knowing something or learning something that you didn't know before?
Right.
Because if they can't teach you something, they sure as heck can't teach a jury something, because you are pretty well educated, probably better off than most people out there, with the amount of schooling that you've had.
And this is very helpful for, you know, people that are just getting into the PI side of things. They may not know, you know, this may be the first personal injury case they take where they find themselves needing an expert, where other attorneys may have been doing this for 20, 30 years and are very familiar with the process. And they've heard there's so much testimony that, you know, they've learned a lot over the years and learned a lot from their experts, where this vetting process is pretty, I think it's a very important, especially for the newer attorneys in the PI industry, to have a resource or a guide to go to, because this is new for them. So if they don't know what they don't know and they talk to the wrong expert that is a great snake oil salesman, man, oh man, that's what you're going to learn in your experience, that this is what it's about. Really, that may absolutely be not what it's about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this, it's good, helpful product.
Yeah. And so then if we dive into the last final part is to actually see their work product, their reports. Ask for a sample report. Could they submit one to you or not? Do they have one they could submit or not? Right? Because you want to test drive that car before you buy it. So why
that was one of the first
how they write a report?
And I remember very early on when you and I partnered up, that was one of the first things we built was a example file.
Yeah, the entire case file.
An example entire case file of, you know, what, you know, now granted it's evolved over the years and has changed format and so on and so on. But I mean, that was one of the things. So that way we could put something in. If someone said, "Hey, I'd like to see what your casework, you know, final product looks like," here it is. Here's what you should expect to see.
Yep.
You know, that's tangible.
Yeah, 100%. Is it complete and easy to understand? That's a huge thing. Is it complete and easy to understand?
Right. Yeah.
You know, did the layout of the report make sense? Did it make sense to you? Or is it all over the place?
Yeah.
Did it follow a nice flow?
Right. Back and forth. Yep.
Yeah. 100%. Sure. Did they include photos and graphics? Right. And the only reason that's important.
You know, we're in an age of technology.
Yeah. But it keeps the eye from getting tired. So somebody that reads that report, the other side that reads it, whoever, right. It keeps the eye from getting tired, so they're not tuning out. And secondly, it illustrates the points that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So that way they can point it out exactly. Like if I'm referencing a tire mark, did I include a picture of that tire mark?
Yeah.
So, and then finally, the final piece of their report was their scope of the report clearly defined? Because if they don't clearly define a scope.
Well, and the last part of the report, is really going to be your opinion section or your findings section. And that should quantify the scope. The scope should be established very early on in the report. What is it that we or I was called upon and asked to do, or asked to, what questions am I being asked to answer? And that's what my opinion needs to, or findings need to cover. I mean, if my scope was strictly a speed, what was the speed or probable speed of, unit number one, and I take off on some tangent about, unleaded gasoline versus E85 in my findings, what in the world? That's a problem.
Right. Yeah, 100%. So again, just some kind of tips and tricks to help you guys vet your experts. Because if they score very highly on this, they're probably a pretty good expert. If they don't score very highly on it, and before you call an expert, know your benchmark. How many of these things do you want checked off? Are you going to require 15 out of 20 to do work with them? 17 out of 20, 20 out of 20? So kind of set that benchmark before you even call the expert. And that way, whether or not they hit these things or they didn't.
And I would almost put it out there, the challenge now for the attorneys that are they're viewing this podcast, download this document, sit down in your office when you got some free time, vet the expert you're using today, not even calling them. If you've used them enough and you've used them before, you should be able to go through that form and check off what applies and what doesn't apply, or, not check what doesn't apply, obviously, and see where you're at right now. Set your baseline today.
Yeah. 100%.
And see where you come in at.
Yeah. So we're actually going to be out of time here for today. So Phil, final thoughts, man. You got anything?
I still want to smack you.
I don't think that ever changes. It doesn't. Answer.
It's consistent. It's almost like gravity.
Right. And that's why I have two different, that's why we have the northern office and southern office, keep us separated. Well, everyone, that's going to wrap it up for the day. As always, jump over to Facebook and make sure you follow and join Crash Tech, the Expert Angle group. Also, if you want to leave us feedback, have an idea for a show, or would like to be on a future show, head over to crashtechexpertangle.podbean.com and click the link on the right that says contact the show. The form will come up. Put anything that you want right in there. If you want more information on expert consulting services or training, visit us online at www.crashtechreconstruction.com. And finally, if you're a PI attorney, make sure you request to join the Crash Site Facebook group. Or if you're a defense attorney, make sure you request to join the Crash Site Defense Facebook group. Neither site contains any ads or spam. It's just a private community that brings experts from all different areas together with attorneys to collaborate or ask questions. So again, guys, thanks for tuning in. And remember, always leave your accident victims better off than you found them, because at the end of the day, everything we're doing is for them.